All right, what's up, y'all? Welcome back. Small Business Uncensored number 9. Today we're going to talk about Trump, Biden, and The Rock. Okay, but really we're going to talk about how they affect business, okay? Their tax policies and things like that. And I'm going to talk to you about why it matters, how small business owners function with it, how big business owners function with different tax policies put out by whatever administration is in office. Okay, so my experience goes back to the Obama era early on through Trump and now with Biden and looking to the future with The Rock. Because if I think the Rock runs, which he just put out a little thing that he, is considering it and people might want that, now I'm going to bring that into consideration so we can just talk about it, make a little predictions. And so today I kept on my Rock Iron Paradise apparel, and I've been a big fan of The Rock. I think a lot of people are, and I think if he runs as independent, I think he will win big time. So, tax policies for small business owners. Now, people talk about tax policies like, oh, the rich get richer and all this. However, most businesses are small businesses, and if you say CEOs, look, I am also a CEO. A person with 1 or 2 employees is also the CEO of their corporation. So I'm going to tell you why it's more important for the small business owners and how it affects us rather than the big corporations with shareholders and that maybe are public, and how it affects them as well. So let's just talk about corporate tax structure under Obama, let's say. Okay, the tax on personal profit, corporate business tax to the owners was 35%, very high. Okay, and when we talk about that, we're saying, okay, that's higher than, like, let's say a Trump policy we were sitting at like 24% or something like that. Cool, right? That's good. Lower taxes are good for everybody. But let's just take in consideration if it is at 35%, or Biden, who's going to take it to 28%. He doesn't say he's going to go over 30, but yeah, right, I don't believe that. But if you are going to raise our taxes, what, as a small business owner or any business that I can think of, what would that higher tax do that helps us? That says, okay, if you're going to raise our taxes, no problem. What will we get in return, and how will that directly affect the business or the people that you are taking the tax from? That would make it acceptable or not, or at least be happy to pay and say, hey, okay, we're going to get that back. And what I could come up with was nothing. Absolutely nothing. For the amount of taxes we paid throughout the years, us and every other small business owner, what has the government ever done for us? Really, it's nothing. Besides, let us operate. Thank you. Pay your taxes. You can operate. All right. So let's just say we probably don't like higher taxes. If you're a small business owner, your corporate tax should be lower. Let's just start there. And this is why. When the corporate tax on small business owners, now this is after payroll tax, after sales tax, at the end of the year when you make money, make a profit, which is the goal, you will be taxed again on how much you made the year prior. So why it's good that that's lower for a small business owner or any business owner is you can do a few things with that. You can reinvest it into your company. All right? So let's just say I made more money last year and had to pay less taxes. I could build out a new location, maybe do some upgrades that's better for the customer. Okay, cool. Maybe I can get a new piece of equipment that's better for my employees. All right, cool. Those are benefits. Maybe I can give somebody a raise because we now have extra operating capital. Excellent. That's a good idea. But the other side of that is if the taxes are raised and we don't have that, we can't make improvements to our business. We cannot hire more people. We cannot do anything better for our employees. We can't give out bonuses, or we just take less as owners and make sure those things still happen. So either way you look at it, with getting nothing in return, there's really not a positive outcome to raising the taxes, because also you'd probably have to raise prices. Because if you want the same amount of profit back to do the things you want to do with your business, even if you just want to remain, do a few upgrades here and there, which comes naturally in a business that's around long term, you're going to have to replace things. You're going to have to make upgrades. You're going to have to stay current or you die, or the competition does those things and people prefer to go to them over you. Now, what I'm looking at is, for instance, if The Rock comes in and he runs independent, even though he endorsed Biden, which may suggest he could run as a Democrat, I think he would run independent. He is a business owner as well. Huge stake in Under Armour, Terramana Tequila, and his new energy drink, among probably other things that we don't know about that are in the works. So I would think he would want a favorable tax climate, which would mean lower taxes, lower corporate tax, because it would directly affect him and how he can grow, expand, and run his businesses. That's my prediction as of right now. But let's take a whole nother thing and throw it in the pot, along with raising taxes. In Chicago, in a Democratic-run state, they want to raise the minimum wage. So let's talk about that as well. Because if we're going to raise taxes, going to raise minimum wage, we're just raising costs on small businesses to do business, which just makes it harder to do business when competition and everything is hard enough as it is. Running a sound business is hard enough as it is, with dealing with customers, systems, processes, ordering, inventory, all these things. You have to worry about yet another thing. So let's talk about the minimum wage. And I am all about people getting paid as well as your business can handle. Because if your employees are happy, they do well, you do well. If you do well, they do well. This is a normal thing, but that should be a free market decision, not a government mandated decision. And this is why. When minimum wage increases, it doesn't just increase for the entry-level employee, the lowest person on the rung. Because if minimum wage increases and now they meet with the next tier of employees because the payroll went up, that person also needs to bump up, or they're going to think, why is that person making the same as me? And then the person after that. So like for instance, for Pebbles, we have 3 or 4 levels of position, okay? And if minimum wage increases, which it did, then the next person has to be bumped up, and the next person, and the next person. And so that doesn't affect the business owner in a positive way, because either A, we have to take less from ourselves, which makes it harder to reinvest in the business because we have less money, literally just because the government said so. What do? Raise prices? Cut employees' hours? Do we hire more entry-level positions and cut the middle positions out? So there's all these different things that happen with just raising the minimum wage. In a fair market, to me, I believe you could say, I'm going to pay you $5 an hour. Well, we know that's not going to work because no one's going to work for that. I mean, somebody probably will, but most people would not work for that. So you would have to bring the price up as a general rule because that's how it would work. In a free market, you could say, I'm going to pay $15 an hour and more people would come there. All right, so you would set that based on your need anyway and what your business can handle. I mean, I could raise prices, but people then won't come, then we won't have any money anyway. I could keep prices the same and I make more money, and I make less money, and we wouldn't have money to put back into the business. I wouldn't be financially sound, then I wouldn't be making good decisions because then I would have to start making other adjustments, and it's a snowball effect. None of those, to me, are good in a free open market. Now, there should be things mandated for breaks and how you treat people and all that. That should be regulated. And maybe a standard bottom minimum wage is okay, but it shouldn't be enforced, nor should it be say you can do this, because every industry is different. Every industry needs different things, can employ different people. And the other thing a lot of people already are seeing, and this is not new, is just to automate your processes. Okay, so you don't need to hire somebody. You make a one-time investment and it would last 10 years, let's say, if you automated something that you didn't need a human to do. Okay, so you're going to have cost savings in the long run, but now a person is unemployed. And if they go on unemployment and you're not getting hours anyway, they may stay on unemployment because it's more favorable to them. So all these things come into play when you think about it. And now these aren't just rich CEOs that have to deal with this. So when some of the people on the more liberal side say, higher taxes for corporations, they're making too much money, they have no clue or have forgotten, or maybe just haven't thought about it enough, that it's the small business owner also, which is the majority of corporations, that have to deal with that. And what we want to do is provide jobs for people. What we want to do is expand so we can do well and make other people do well. With an unfavorable tax and corporate structure, whether from the federal government or your state mandated things, it is not favorable to businesses to grow, survive, thrive, hire people, and do what they want to do to make it a good, viable business and continue to put tax dollars into the community. All right, so if you force people out of business or force people's hands into some of these things, they could just go out of business or not know how to function. Some people don't know how to pivot and don't know how to work around these things. You're going to create a worse situation, and businesses will go out of business, which would be then have zero tax dollars coming in. All right. And so the other part of this is when, let me catch my train of thought again. I had something coming. I might have to edit this now because my computer, who had my notes, decided to shut down, and now it won't restart, which is awesome. Technical difficulties, but again, this is all about pivoting, right? So no matter who's in administration, it should be a fair market, lower taxes, because this is where I was going with this. If we have a higher tax rate, okay, and I say I'm just going to pay this amount to the government and I get nothing in return. The way around that is, and when people say loopholes, they spend money, they buy this, they buy that, we have to do that. So I would rather purchase an expense and reduce my tax burden at the year end than just pay a big lump sum to the government, which we do every year, and get nothing in return. So that is the way of paying less taxes, but still providing for your business. So if you're lucky enough to make a profit at the end of the year like we are, we have to decide, what are we spending our money on? Should we take it as distribution and pay it anyway? Should we reinvest in the company and do some upgrades, which we did? Or do we just pay it to the government? So you have to think about this. It's great as a small business owner because you can put expenses on the business, and at the end of the year, if you know you're going to be profitable and have to owe something, if you have a good accountant, you can sit down and talk about that before that, forecast what you might pay, and then buy an asset or do whatever you want to do, reinvest, give raises, give bonuses, which you'll still pay tax on some of that stuff. And it's really no way to get out of the tax completely if you show any profit, which you want to do. That means your business is solvent. If you want to grow like I do, your books have to look good, so you have to show profits. You're going to pay something, but there's ways to reduce that. Okay, your cell phones, the business owns a car for deliveries and pickups and things like that. You reinvest in new equipment, like I mentioned, or whatever. You could think of anything in order to not pay that. So what people are going to do is, if we're going to raise the tax, I'm just going to spend more on myself, my business, my employees, or whatever it is, whatever makes the most sense by the end of the year, instead of paying that. So the government really isn't going to get anything more. And most savvy business owners are going to do this. And huge corporations do this, and they're buying big assets, and it looks like they're making no profit. But they're smart and saying, well, we're not going to get anything back from the government anyway in return for this millions of dollars we're giving them in taxes. I'm going to put it back in my business and give them nothing. All right, so you can go check this. Most of the public companies are public in what they pay in taxes, but you got to think about it. It's not a loophole. It's just what the tax structure allows. So why wouldn't we as small business owners, and what I suggest to other small business owners is, if you're going to pay a tax at the end of the year, your corporate business tax, which is us personally paying it because it's our profit like we made, spend it within the business before that and don't pay the tax burden. All right, or you just pay a big check and you get nothing in return from it. Why would you do that? That's just silly. So my goal for today was to talk about the favorable tax structures and why it matters. Okay, my little prediction about Trump. About fucking Trump. I know I think Rock would beat Trump. If Trump runs again, I think The Rock would beat him. However, it's also to say what a small business owner should probably think about and consider. And if you're not a business owner, think about it constructively about your friends and families that might own a business, work in a small business, or just general information on how it goes. And what I was thinking when I saw this that The Rock put out, I really thought about how this might affect me because we've been in business a long time. My father's seen a lot more different things than I have, and we've been able to make it work. So you have to get creative a little bit in your business too, and you have to weather the storm of whatever administration comes up with something new. And we're going to do that. But to what cost and what expense is it going to be? That's yet to be seen. But there's ways around it. I hope you got a little value out of this. I hope it's kept it a little short for you. I won't keep you waiting as much. For next time, stay badass, do whatever it takes. Let's go.